Hey everyone, it's Arv here. It's April the 9th and spring is definitely in the air. The sun is out, the sky is blue, and it feels great to be outdoors. Unfortunately, though, here in Ottawa, it's still too cold to be working in the garden. So we're down here in the basement again, just checking out our seedlings, how they're doing. As you saw, they're doing pretty well. We're using the time between now and the May long weekend to learn about the science behind gardening. So over the last couple of videos, we learned about seed germination, the key factors to getting the seeds to germinate, and then the second video was on lighting. So once the seeds are germinating, the three key factors to lighting. Today it's about feeding. So this, as you saw, the seedlings are starting to pop up, but at what point do we start to feed them? So that's going to be a key factor, and what do we feed them? So that's what we'll be learning today. I hope you enjoy the video. You learn lots, and I look forward to hearing about your comments. Let me know what you think. I'm particularly interested if you have any ideas for future videos too, and if you found these useful at all in any way. I'd love to know that. So let me know in the comments, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. So take care and talk to you soon. Bye.
To build a plant that thrives outdoors, you have to engineer thick, sturdy stems and a resilient root system indoors. Getting there requires a strict 5-phase nutritional timeline, mapping exactly what to feed your plant from the day it sprouts to the day it enters the garden. If you step up your fertilizer too quickly, you get leggy, weak growth. Time it wrong, and you risk chemical root burn, fatal fungal diseases, and a plant that simply collapses the moment it faces outdoor wind. Before we begin, you need to gather 3 specific tools. As you can see in the setup, we have a plastic starting tray with a dedicated bottom reservoir, a balanced water-soluble fertilizer, like a 555, and a bottle of liquid kelp extract. Having these materials is only step 1. Strict discipline over when you apply them will determine whether your seedling survives the transition outside. Step 1 is phase 1, the fasting phase. For the first 2 to 3 weeks after your seed sprouts, you apply absolutely no fertilizer. Take a look at this comparison diagram. On the left is a new sprout. Those first smooth, round leaves are the Cotyledons. They act as a built-in pantry containing all the energy the plant needs right now. On the right, you see textured, jagged, true leaves. We wait for those. If you add chemical nutrients while the plant is still relying on its Cotyledons, you easily burn the fragile nascent roots. This permanently stalls development. By withholding water-soluble nutrients, we force the taproot to stretch deeply into the starting mix, desperately searching for moisture. Starving the top canopy of nutrients temporarily is a calculated stressor. It forces the plant to build an aggressive, deep root system capable of supporting heavy foliage later. Once the seedling unfurls its first set of true leaves, those miniature versions of adult foliage, the cotyledon reserves are officially depleted. This triggers phase 2. Your golden rule here is maximum dilution. Mix your 555 fertilizer to exactly 1/4 of the package's recommended strength to avoid overwhelming the young plant. To deliver this first wave of nutrients safely, we use a mandatory professional method called bottom watering. This cross-section diagram shows the exact 3-step sequence. First, pour your diluted solution into the tray's bottom reservoir. Second, let the soil cells wick the moisture upward for 15 to 20 minutes. Third, completely drain away any remaining liquid. Notice how the top layer of soil remains a dry, light gray, while the roots reach downward. Keeping the surface bone dry eliminates the environment needed for fungus gnats and fatal fungal infections like damping off. Bottom watering forces root expansion downward, while maintaining a defensive dry barrier at the vulnerable stem. During weeks 3 through 6, we enter phase 3. The vegetative push. Here, you step the fertilizer up to half strength to fuel rapid foliage and secondary root expansion. At this stage, identical treatment across all your plants fails. You must divide your strategy between heavy feeders and light feeders. Heavy feeders, like peppers and petunias, need half-strength fertilizer once a week. Check this photographic comparison. If you see the lower leaves turning pale yellow starting from the base, like the leaf on the right, the plant has exhausted its nitrogen. Bump feeding to twice a week. Light feeders, like rosemary and Mediterranean herbs, require a highly restricted diet. Give them the half-strength solution only once every 2 to 3 weeks. If you overfeed these light feeders, The rapid, soft growth causes the stem to grow too tall, bending and flopping over under its own weight. Observing the foliage allows you to decode the exact metabolic demands of your crops. Tailored nutrition prevents structural collapse. The final 2 weeks before transplanting are phase 4, hardening off. This is when your plants face harsh outdoor wind and UV rays for the first time. Immediately drop your balanced fertilizer back down to quarter strength, or switch to a lower nitrogen formulation, like a 3-4-4. Looking at the NPK ratio on this diagram, we have nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. We need to stop pushing nitrogen, which drives green growth. Instead, we rely heavily on phosphorus for roots and potassium for overall cellular health. High nitrogen creates soft, tender green tissues that wind easily shreds and UV rays incinerate. By shifting the nutrient balance, we thicken the outer cell walls, layering them up like armor plating to survive transplant shock. We are no longer pushing for vertical height. The goal is to fortify the existing plant tissue for the violent reality of the outdoors. Phase 5 is transplant day. The hardened seedling is finally ready to move into the ground. Do not apply standard, heavy nitrogen fertilizers on the day of planting. Doing so risks immediate root shock. Instead, water the newly planted seedling generously with a diluted seaweed or kelp extract. This gentle, mineral-rich application provides micronutrients that soothe the stressed root system, securing the plant safely into its new environment without burning it. By following this sequence, your once fragile indoor sprout completely transforms into a dominant, weather-resistant outdoor plant. You forced the roots deep during the early fasting phase, protected the fragile stems with bottom watering, and precisely scaled the nutrients to match the plant's metabolic demands. This timeline acts as your master protocol for all future planting. Fasting at 0 nutrients, introducing at 1/4 strength, pushing vegetative growth at 1/2, dropping back to 1/4 for hardening, and finishing with kelp. Cultivating resilient seedlings relies entirely on a calculated, evolving timeline. You give the plant exactly what it needs, exactly when it needs it.